Hi there. Welcome to another edition of TokStocks. I'm your host, Keir Reynolds, and today we're lucky enough to have Mark Sumner, Director for Daura Gold. Daura trades on the TSX Venture Exchange with the ticker DGC. Hey, Mark, how you doing today?
Hey, Kier, good to be with you. How are you?
Hey, I'm great, thanks. It was nice to finally meet you when you were up in my neck of the woods for the Capital Events Conference. Nice to put a face to the name finally and see you in real life. And it was great to sit down with you and get an update on all the things that are going on. You guys have been crazy busy this year, so I thought it was a good time for us to get a first look video out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, over the last 6 months, the timing couldn't be better, right? I mean, so this is a perfect time, and as you said, we have been incredibly busy, pulling this story together.
Yeah, excellent. So why don't we, before we kind of get into, what Dora is all about, maybe for my viewers who have never met you before or don't know who you are, would you mind just giving us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so my background, particularly within the natural resources space, has mostly been on the um, financing projects privately, seeing them through to a handful of stock market listings, an ASX AIM, and I got started in South America in the resource space about 12 or 13 years ago, actually starting in Peru, funny enough. And through a series of private companies, we worked up a number of copper targets, worked up a number of other gold and silver targets, and mostly in the Andean region of South America is where I've spent most of my time in the resource space. So we've got a couple. We've been involved with a few projects in Chile. Involved with a few projects in Colombia. Peru is by far my favorite place to work. In my view, it's the best jurisdiction. We'll talk about the geology around Dora's land package today. Incredibly exciting gold and silver district. Um, so that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. And why don't we sort of dive in? You can give us a bit of an elevator pitch. So I assume, based upon your discussion there, you guys are based in Peru. Could you give us an elevator pitch? What's Dora all about?
Yeah, sure. So Dora started to actually come into focus several years ago, really. Um, and the basis for the assembly of this land package was really the San Luis deposit within Highlander Silver's project portfolio, which is our next door neighbor. Um, San Luis was a discovery that was made early 2000s, around 2005, 6. Um, Before that, David Lowell made a major discovery just to the east called Purina, which was an 8.5 million ounce gold deposit that was mined by Barrick from the late 90s into around 2000, I think 12 or 13. So we were and based on that San Luis discovery, we were always really excited about the geology in this area, and it was incredibly underexplored for a number of reasons. Silver Standard, now SSR Mining, sat on the project for a number of years. And, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we put a CPC together and started working on an agreement to bring this land package to the public listing. So um, we've got, we've assembled just under 16,000 hectares of ground in this really exciting Ancash district in Ancash Department of Peru. The San Luis area is roughly 500 kilometers northeast of Lima. Um, the land package that we have is focused primarily around a project called Antonella, and now we've recently added claims through an acquisition that sort of wrap around Highlander's Bonita project called Lebelulus. And yeah, the idea is we've got some historical drilling at Antonella. We've got some historical surface work. We've got spectacular geochem samples at surface where these veins are expressed at surface with really high grades of gold and silver. and the historical drilling confirms and is in line with some of the drilling that you've seen recently at Bonita, where we've got nice intercepts with incredible grades, both at sort of this 40 to 60 meter, kind of 40 to 60 meter interval, as well as at depth from between 100 meters and about 160 meters. We're excited about what Highlander is doing because, the drilling that they've put out recently confirms that, we're on trend. We believe Antonella and Bonita are one continuous mineralized vein system. And our aim is to continue working up this project and putting out great results as we prove it up.
Yeah, and you've mentioned Highlander. So Highlander Silver trades on the Toronto HLSV. For those of my viewers, it started to really make a name for itself here. Daniel Earl is running the company. Dan's a pretty well-known, very capable individual. He was a high-flying sort of precious metal analyst with TD during the last sort of bull market cycle that we had, and so yeah, they've got a market cap today of just over 350 million. And I think they put out drill assays from their first 7 holes at this Bonita target. We're going to see a map in a moment when we talk Closeology in our business. This is pretty darn close. You guys can't get much closer without being right on top of them. It looks like you've got them nearly surrounded on 4 sides. So very exciting. So they've got a 350 million market cap. They've got Richard Warwick and the Lundins sort of backing them sort of financially, and then you guys, you've got just over a 10 million market cap, if I'm not mistaken, so quite a discrepancy between the two companies, being very close on what's turned into an exciting new play in this sort of Ancash region in Peru. How many shares do you have outstanding in Daura?
Yeah, so just under 43 million shares outstanding. Management team has about 21% of those shares. The rest is held fairly tightly through a network of very close investors through our group. And like you said, we're just over 10 million, maybe $11 million market cap now. Sitting next door to Highlander, very well financed, very well backed by some, very impressive names. And so, we're working up our targets, kind of becoming the Highlander before it became Highlander type of situation.
Excellent. Well, that's probably a pretty good segue. Why don't we get some maps on the screen and we can give people
Sure.
a bit more of a visual in terms of what you have going on. Perfect. Looks great. So here we go. We got sort of the first slide up. It's a map of Highlander. Maybe you could just explain the sort of significance here of this map and sort of walk us through some of the subsequent ones.
Sure. So you can see there where it says Barrick past producing Purina mine. That was the David Lowell discovery that I mentioned previously. The San Luis area is outlined in red. They call that entire 25,000 or so hectare concession package San Luis. It's made up of multiple targets with pretty incredible geology. Daura has taken up ground surrounding that southwest corner, in and around the Bonita target, and that's where Antonella and Lebelulus sit. And as you said, virtually you can see this little corner. I'll just point with my cursor. You can see this little corner down here. We effectively, have surrounded this target, as you said, almost on 4 sides, with a little channel going through into their larger land package. The area, this, district in Ancash, obviously very well known. You've got Antamina, one of the largest copper mines in the world, about 120 Ks to the east, and we've got as I said, just under 16,000 hectares in and around this district, which includes about 5,700 hectares, 40 kilometers to the north, and another really exciting epithermal gold and silver target that we can talk about a little bit later.
Why don't we flip to the next page and see what you got? So this is sort of zoomed in on Highlander's San Luis project, and I guess the important thing for us to have a look at would be around that number 1, the Bonita vein field. Is that correct?
That's where we are most active. In fact, that number 1 sits just on top of Antonella, where we've got about 2,500 meters of historical drilling with great results, and wrapping around that Bonita target is the rest of Daura's land package. If you look where it says the Island vein field, that was the original San Luis discovery, where they've got 356,000 ounces at 24 grams gold, and 8.5 million ounces at 579 grams silver. Highlander recently reported that the San Luis project is top 10 globally in both gold and silver grades. So it's a pretty spectacular target. There's probably a lot more drilling to be done there, which I think those guys are probably working on. You can bet it. But they are drilling actively in that Bonita vein field, where we are also active. So we just announced earlier this week that the team's been deployed. We put our community agreements together, which allow us to deploy the team for more extensive and detailed geological mapping, sampling, and geochem, as well as running some geophysics to map these veins undercover. In a number of the areas around here, these veins show really strong expression at surface, but the geophysics are going to give us a better view of what it looks like, deeper within the system.
Why don't we skip to the next page and see what you have? So these would be some of the recent highlights that were just reported from Highlander on that Bonita vein field they talk about. So it's a nice broad interval of 4 plus sort of gram per ton gold material with some nice silver numbers. So I think they announced the first 7 holes. They've got 13 that have been completed, and then they also, I think, announced they were going to bring a second drill rig. So I guess they're liking what they see. Maybe you could move to the next page, and I think that's where we can get a better look on where you guys are located.
Sure. So there you can see very clearly Antonella, and you can see Daura in red, wrapping around that Bonita target where they're currently drilling. So the guys are actually in the field right now working about 700 meters away from the Highlander team. So we'll expect to be putting out some results from this field program in the coming weeks. Where we'll have geochem, like I mentioned, we'll have sampling and geochem. We'll have more detailed mapping. I mentioned what that drilling from Highlander really shows us is this sort of northwest to southeast trend of the Antonella and Bonita vein systems. We believe this is one continuous mineralized system. So we're really excited about bringing these results back from this field program, which will feed into a future drill program at Antonella, and eventually at our Lebelulus, which is the sort of claim system that wraps around that Bonita target, which we picked up a few weeks ago. And it's the total is just under 4,000 hectares surrounding that ground. There are several areas that haven't been looked at very closely that are highly prospective as well. So there's a lot of interesting exploration work to be done. But as I said, our focus right now is at Antonella and really tying that together.
Historically, what sort of work's been done at Antonella? Was it ever like a small scale, like old timer sort of like production area? What sort of work has been done over the years prior to your involvement?
Throughout these claims, there are, historical, very small scale, artisanal mining operations, underground workings and things like that. When we picked up Antonella, it had actually been drilled to just under 2,500 meters of drilling. Drilled with very little data, frankly. The results are very good. A number of these drill holes have intercepted, have very similar intercepts to what that you've seen at Bonita. We've got 17 and a half meters at 3.25 grams gold. We've got a number of 3 to 5 meter intercepts at 8 and 10 grams gold. So we've got pretty similar numbers. But what's interesting is we've also got a number of really good intercepts at depth, sort of between 120 and 160 meters, which is also in line with some of the drill holes that Highlander put out. One of their intervals from 160 meters was 5 meters at about 5 grams, roughly, something like that. So we've got pretty similar geology in that has shown through those drill holes. What we're doing now also is we have a ton of data. We're optimizing that data. We've got structural geologists to come in, to do some 3D modeling, high resolution elevation modeling to really sort of understand the patterns of the system so that when we come back for our drill program, we've really got a clear picture of what we're looking for.
Excellent. Why don't we flip to the next one and see what we got? So this one's a little bit hard to see. It'd be nice to sort of improve the contrast of the map, but tell us what we're looking at here.
Yeah, Highlander has these very lovely images and maps. We've been working on a slightly smaller budget, so we're trying to spend our money on the ground. But yeah, we do need to improve the quality and resolution of some of our materials. But what you can see here is you can see where the Antonella is labeled and where those red veins are defined within the Antonella system. And then you can see where Bonita was drilling, or where Highlander was drilling at Bonita, in the center of that claim. A couple things are relevant. One, showing that the trend of that vein system, from the northwest to the southeast. We believe that Lebelulus to the southeast of Bonita has strong indications that the vein system trends into those concessions as well. Our guys will be moving seamlessly from Antonella into Lebelulus as we complete the work. And as I said, those geophysics are really going to help us see what we've got undercover. But the proximity is very close. You've got from those most recent drill holes about 1,000 meters from Antonella to the Bonita drill program, and you can see where we've got it sort of surrounded to the northwest. Sorry, to the northeast, about 220 meters away. So, I mean, what this shows is really proximity and trend. And the work that we're doing right now, I think, is going to bring out a lot more valuable information to reinforce that thesis that this is one continuous mineralized vein system, and that we have Daura's got an incredible position within the system.
And so just looking at the map, it looks like there's some very light, sort of angled red sort of boxes. Those would be Daura boxes, and then we've got where principally the Bonita, and then just a bit north of that, you've got sort of these horizontal sort of green lines. That would be Highlander's ground.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. And you can see from Bonita, you can see where those arrows, with distances highlighted in yellow, you can see those are the distance to Daura's borders. So, we're about 1,000 meters from Antonella targets down into the Bonita drill program, just under 1,000 meters to the west, just under 1,000 meters to the east, about 220 meters to the northeast, and then moving into Lebelulus, about 720 meters to that border as well.
Wow, you got them surrounded virtually on all sides. Good stuff. That's what we like to see when it's a Closeology play like this.
Definitely.
Maybe we could go to the next if you got anything else for us. Okay, we got a photo. What's that a photo of?
Yeah, so the guy sent this to me from the field yesterday. That green arrow indicates where the Highlander team is working about 800 meters away from our guys. So we're working very close to the border. They've obviously been moving. They've obviously been moving up to the north, sort of through the northwest from their current drill program. So um, yeah, it just gives you a really clear picture of an indication of how close we actually are.
Yeah, that's pretty darn close.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, next map. What do you have another map?
Yeah, here you go. So this gives you a better picture of what the Dora land package actually looks like in and around this area. So you've got San Luis in green, which is Highlander. You've got Dora in red. Barrick is also very active in that area, and they are in blue. So you can see the position that we have next door to Highlander and adjacent to San Luis. And then more relevant to what we're talking about today, given the team is in the field, that package around the Bonita target. What's
And I,
also, sorry, go ahead.
yep. And there's a property package that you guys made a bit of news on recently. This Yanamina project, and so you guys did a deal to sort of acquire that. That's the northern sort of piece. That's sort of at the top of that map there in red.
Correct.
And that has had some historical sort of work, and I guess has a non-compliant, non-43-101 resource, a historic mineral resource of what looks like a couple 100,000 ounces of gold, both in if you could combine indicated and inferred, which you're not supposed to do, but I'm doing.
Right.
So tell us a bit about that project.
Yeah, so that's an interesting project as well. It's about 40 kilometers to the north. The Yanamina deposit itself sits within about a 200 hectare single concession. The rest of the package is incredibly underexplored given the prospectivity. And as you said, there has been some historical work, about 3,400 meters of drilling with fantastic results. There are a number of incredible targets within that Yanamina resource area to follow up on. And we picked up Yanamina, which is about a total of 900 hectares, and we've added 4,700 hectares of additional exploration ground as well. We've done a very initial sort of drive-through reconnaissance and recognition program just to get a sense of the geology before we put our community agreements in place to deploy the team. But at this stage, we put that project in place on very favorable terms. It gives us a long runway, to establish a robust community relations program, which, as you probably know, in Peru is paramount. And this particular project has been sort of left neglected for a number of years with no community relations agreement. No community relations program. So our first order of business up at Yanamina is, we're obviously looking at the data. We have all the drill core. It's been very well stored, very well preserved. So we're reinterpreting the data for a current 43101, which is a fairly simple exercise to do, but I think will really help us get a better understanding of what the next steps are from a technical perspective. But what we've already started doing is putting a strong community relations program in place. So we've been up there interacting with a number of members of the community, including leadership. And so that'll be an ongoing process, and that we'll be excited to keep the market up to date on, because there's some really good work to be done up there. It's a relatively small deposit, as you mentioned now, but we think it's a drilling story.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for sort of walking us through that. Maybe just to kind of summarize and make sure we're kind of clear. There's again, you guys have a growing property portfolio. What are kind of the key sort of target areas, and which ones are you currently working at where you have community programs in place?
Our focus right now is where the team is at Antonella and around Lebelulus, and we have a community agreement in place with Cochabamba, which is the community area around Bonita, Antonella, Lebelulus. So that's really critical for us. It's where we've got, aside from Yanamina, within this, if you want to call it this sort of San Luis complex area, um, that's where we plan to generate the most information and data here in the relatively near term. But we've got some other exciting prospects within the area. So, if you look up in the northeast of San Luis, you can see our red concession, Tayacoto. Tayacoto is another really exciting prospect. It sits right next door and adjacent to Highlander's Daniela copper porphyry target. It's an interesting target. It's these epithermal gold and silver veins have strong expression at surface there. So it's a lot of good surface work to be done to really get a sense of what that looks like in the northeast. But it's also a copper. We've got visible copper at surface as well. So we're working on our community agreement there. We've had active community relations in place from the very beginning. And that's really, at this stage, that's a function of timing of community meetings where we can present and get our approvals. So we're working on that very actively. You can see just to the north of us is Barrick. Barrick is very interested in that area as well. So they are active up in their concession package. We believe also looking for a porphyry. So aside from the work that we're doing around the Bonita target, that's probably our second priority within this land package today, because we can put community agreements in place there and deploy the team, in the coming weeks and months to generate some more data and really get a sense of what that is.
And that's the piece that's sort of on the right side of the map.
Correct.
That's also on the other side of the San Luis sort of total sort of project for Highlander.
Right, up in the northeast corner.
Yeah,
Correct.
and Barrick's got they're directly north of you.
That's correct. Yes.
Excellent. So I guess to summarize, you've got Antonella that you're doing some work on right now. I guess that's sort of like field work, taking sampling, doing geophysics, things like that. That's where that photo was taken was showing where the Highlander guys are. So you've got that Antonella. Then you've got your, I don't know how you pronounce it, the one to the south, Labu.
Yeah, Lebelulus. So we inherited that name through the acquisition, and we've got plans to make it a little easier to pronounce. So you'll see a name change coming here in the near future.
Excellent. So you've got that, and then way up north, you've got Yanamina, which has a historic resource. You've got the drill core. You're looking to update that at some point. You've got some community access stuff to sort of get sorted before you could really kind of get active there, I imagine.
Yep.
And then lastly, you've got the project that's sort of on the northeast side of San Luis. And what's that one called again?
Tayacoto.
Tayacoto. So you've got sort of, it sounds like 4 kind of principal sort of project target type areas. And you've got, how many are you actively working on right now?
Right now, we're actively working on Antonella, Lebelulus, and Tayacoto, and we have community relations in action up at Yanamina.
Excellent. So busy, lots going on.
Yeah, lots going on. We've been very busy. We hit the ground running, after the listing in late January, and we've been working really hard to make as much progress as quickly as we can in this market.
Excellent. Why don't we close the deck? And I've got just a few more questions before we kind of wrap up. So tell me a bit about your team. Like, where are you located? You don't spend too much time in Peru, do you?
No, I'm in Peru frequently enough. I'm not a geologist. I'm not technical, so I don't add a whole lot of value being down there to, walk around and kick rocks. But the team, when we put the team together, we really built a team focused on jurisdictional knowledge, right? So with knowledge specifically, not of just this deposit, but of this region. And so Luis Saenz, our CEO, He was a director of the company that previously held Yanamina many years ago and published the 43-101. So he knows that project very well. He's also got a lot of working knowledge of San Luis from his days as a banker at Standard Bank when Silver Standard was putting together their bankable feasibility study. Ernesto Lima also contributed to the San Luis effort as a project manager at Silver Standard. And our field geo, Martin Segarra, was also a geologist on the SSR team working the Bonita target around 2014 and 2015. So our aim was really to, we put together a team that has direct knowledge of the geology here and really understands not only the technical aspects, but the community aspects as well. We have a first-rate community relations team led by a guy called Jaime Ortiz, who's been in this district for many, many years, putting these community agreements together. He's done a spectacular job for us. So the team between Ernesto, Luis, Martin, and Jaime, very, very specific local knowledge of these projects and the geology and the community needs and requirements. And then our corporate office is in Vancouver.
What sort of elevation are these projects typically found at? Do you have sort of a limited period of time you can work on them? Do you have year-round exploration opportunity? Maybe tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, no, there is a rainy season. You can work into about mid-November, and then it becomes very difficult between mid-November and early April.
Okay. And so you've got quite a bit of runway left here to get some work done, and
Yeah,
I would
no question.
imagine I imagine Highlander is going to be pretty busy doing lots of work, keeping this region in the news. And what do you think your sort of I'd say short-term catalysts over the next 3 to 6 months? What should we be watching out for?
Well, in the first instance, the program that we're running right now, we'll have more detailed mapping and sampling. So you'll see geochem coming from Antonella and eventually Lebelulus in the coming weeks and months. That's going to be, sort of an 8-week program or so. So that we just started on Tuesday. So, you'll see those results coming out as they're available and as we interpret the data and understand what we've got. You'll see geophysics within interpretations on that data to be released. You'll see community relations agreements up at Tayakoto, which will allow us to get the team into the field at Tayakoto this year and produce some more detailed mapping, sampling, and geophysics. The program that we're running at Antonella right now, will include a DIA consultant, so we'll have a consultant in the field ticking the boxes so we can file for our drill permits. And we'll be filing for a very substantial drill program, something like 30, we'll be asking for permission for something like 30,000 meters. So that'll be fairly substantial. And so those are the really the near-term news flow pieces. And then, as we've been doing since we got listed in January, we've been consolidating highly prospective ground in this district. The district which has been very quiet for a long time. Highlander coming in and making some noise has been very helpful, and the communities are opening up. So, we will continue to look for interesting prospects, and there are many in this area. As we go through.
Hey, excellent. Mark, really appreciate you spending some time with us, giving us sort of a top to bottom sort of run through. I'll maybe just leave final comment to you. Is there anything that you think we should cover that maybe we haven't covered, or any final thoughts?
I think that covers it pretty well. As you mentioned, we've got a very large neighbor that it's actually helping us along, putting out some very valuable data for us. And we'll just continue to work up these really exciting prospects in what I think is one of the most exciting gold and silver districts in the world.
Well, that sounds great. For full transparency, I'm a shareholder of the company. I'm also a small shareholder of Highlander, so I'm pretty biased on this. But Mark, appreciate you sort of coming on, giving us a run through. getting the name out there. So really appreciate it. And we look forward to sort of following up and following the progress of the company in the coming weeks and months.
No, that's great. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Kier.